Welcome to Level Up Tribes. Level Up Tribes provides resources to help you attain the necessary resources to level up your mind, body, and soul and realize your full potential. It is about exploring, learning, providing you with the tools from the experts for you to create a better version of yourself. I am your host, Agnes Goodwine, and welcome, Tribes.
Good morning. I'm good, thanks. And you?
I'm okay.
Good. We had 6 inches of snow this morning.
Wait, I thought you were in California.
Yep. But I'm in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada, so we have snow occasionally. But
okay. Yeah, when I think of California, I don't think of that part.
Yeah. I guess most people don't. Right.
It's the same here in Arizona. We get snow in the northern part of Arizona, like a lot of snow. And a lot of people don't connect that either.
Right, your desert. Yeah.
Well, it's great to see you and catching up again. I know we've had a few reschedules, so I'm super happy that we connected again. So thank you for being here with us at Level of Tribes podcast. And I'm excited to learn about your journey. Trauma talk is something that is dear to my heart. We all have had trauma in our lives, and I've had my share of mine. So I'm always open to talk about it and, just to keep healing ourselves and those that are also trying to find that path of healing too from their past trauma. So I'm super excited to hear about the alternative types of techniques to release some of that trapped trauma that we have in our body. So EFT, which is emotional freedom techniques, is something that helped you in your journey. And I'm super excited for you to talk about it. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to share it.
So Hince is here with us today. She is a professional speaker, author, and spiritual teacher, and to talk about her trauma, the mind-body connection, and the alternative health techniques that helped her release stuck trauma in her body. Tell us more about yourself.
Sure, yes. And I am sharing it because I want people to know how incredibly powerful we are when we do this work. Just amazing to me. So I did have a lot of trauma in childhood. Born with my right foot up against my right shin. So the first 6 weeks of my life, I had physical therapy. And then I was given away for adoption into a family that had just suffered a trauma because they had adopted an older boy who was 2 years older than me. And then they adopted another little girl. And the birth mother changed her mind at 6 months and she was taken away. And I was the replacement into that family. So, they'd just suffered a trauma. They'd actually just gone through the first 6 months, looking after a baby, feeding her and everything. And then they had to do it again with me. And obviously they wouldn't be sure that this mother wouldn't change her mind as well. So they clearly would not have connected for those first 6 months as much as maybe they would with that first child. So, that was the beginning. And then, life went on. We actually lived in many different countries. And at the age of 9, I was sent to a boarding school we lived in Hong Kong, and I was sent to a boarding school in England. And I was sent to a boys' boarding school because my brother was there. I was the first girl boarder at this boys' boarding school. And I was teased horrifically, ongoing for 2 years. So it was really not a good experience for me. And then I went to a girls' boarding school after that. And in that time frame of my teenage years, both parents became alcoholic. They'd always drunk because, I think that's more of the English way. People tend to drink in pubs, but they just drank more and more. And my dad had anger issues, and I kind of shrunk into myself. Life felt like it was hell. I kind of stopped talking because there wasn't any point sharing my point of view if I was always wrong. And my dad used to tease my voice. So there was no point talking. So I just stopped doing it. And then when I was 19, I woke up one morning and found my mother dead in the bathroom. So that was kind of the big trauma. That was a huge deal at the time. But life just kept on going. I didn't know what else to do with it. I didn't even know what therapy was, right? We just kept on doing what I'd always done, which was to hide everything on the inside. And so it wasn't until I was actually in my late 30s, so 2 decades later, when I actually had like a business altercation with a couple of other mothers at school. I didn't think that I'd done anything wrong, but they thought I'd done something wrong. And my mind just went out of control. It just went over and over and over what they'd said and how I felt. And I couldn't sleep for days. And that was the first inkling I had, because it kind of reminded me of my dad and what I used to do when he would get annoyed with me. And that's the first time I thought, well, maybe there's something about my childhood that I haven't looked at yet or should do something about.
Yeah.
It was in that time frame that I actually had a doctor's appointment, and I went to him. He recognized I was really stressed. Now, he was a holistic doctor, so don't expect all doctors to do this. But he asked me how stressed I was on a 0 through 10 scale, and I said 8. And then he asked me why. And I knew when he asked that question that it was my mother's death 2 decades earlier, because the tears were still so close to the surface, still 20 years later. And that's when he used this technique with me. It's kind of weird. It's called EFT, which is short for emotional freedom technique. So it's also called tapping, because we're tapping on certain places in the body as we're talking through whatever it is we're talking through. And he worked with me for about 15 minutes. And I walked away from that appointment being able to tell the story of her death in my mind without the tears there. And it felt so different. I mean, something that could work that fast felt like something that I should look into. So I did. I actually researched it. The guy who developed it, Gary Craig, gave it away for free at the time. So it was available to learn online. And I did that.
Yes.
But I wanted to know it was really working and it wasn't just a fluke, because I was a software engineer, I have an engineering mind, and I wanted to know this is really doing something. And I had, at the time, it was really useful, but I had a 17-year-old cat at home that needed to have daily saline shots. And I have always hated injections. I've had many throughout my lifetime. And so when I gave him that first shot, my hand was just shaking almost out of control. I was so scared of giving him this shot. So I thought, well, this is a great test case. So I tapped about all different aspects of that. So I tapped about my fear of hurting my cat, my fear of giving the injection itself, and my hand shaking, and all the memories I had around injections. Yeah. And the next day, when I gave him the shot, the needle just slid right in. All that fear that I had just gone. It had just disappeared. And that's when I realized how powerful, deceptively powerful, EFT is.
So you still practice it on yourself, like daily?
I do.
You do that? You do?
Not daily. I do it once a week with a group, and I do it with other people, but I've moved beyond what I call beyond EFT. I don't need it anymore because my awareness is now so deep that I don't feel like I need to use it as much.
Beautiful. I have done EFT a few years ago because I try to find anything that's going to help with mental health, with releasing, stuck trauma. And so I did try it and I liked it.
And what I've realized over the years is it's that physical aspect of it that makes it so powerful. It is the tapping on the meridian points of the body that actually lets the stuck emotion, the stuck energy release from the body. So there's talk therapy, right? Talk therapy, you're talking through what's happened, and over time perhaps that releases. It never really worked for me, but it's that physical aspect of tapping on the body as you're talking through something that lets the nervous system release that stuck energy, and it really does release. So it's really good to be open to it. The other part that I think a lot of people these days have moved EFT more to the positive, right? Almost that toxic positivity thing. And I've learned, and we're going to get to it further down my story, but it's the negative that is stuck in the body. Yeah. It's the darkness, what we call the darkness. It's tension, it's dis-ease. That's what's stuck in the body. And that's what EFT is so great about. It's fully accepting what we're feeling, whatever it is, however negative it is. If we fully accept it, it will release and leave the body. So we've got to get to that really negative, that really dark part of us, accept it, and that's where the shift happens.
So you're doing once a week workshops and introducing EFT to others. Have you noticed over the years, like those around you using this technique that have seen the positive change?
They've certainly seen changes, yes. And over time, they are positive changes. They are what EFT does, it starts to open up the subconscious mind, right? So we become aware at a deeper level. Now, what we're aware of isn't necessarily always positive. It's just a deeper level. And you get shown more things as you get deeper and deeper. And we'll talk about that. My path kind of has three main steps to it. And EFT was kind of the first one and the biggest one almost, because I started to use it every day. So I started to notice when I was feeling emotional and I would tap. And I found my mind becoming quiet and I wanted more. So what I did is I wrote down every emotional memory that I could remember from my childhood and my earlier years. And I tapped through one each day for about an hour to an hour and a half each night. And my mind started to become peaceful. All those words, that inner voice that would always talk to me and it would judge me and it would criticize me and it would judge other people, that disappeared. It left. It was like, and I was left with a peaceful mind, which was my goal. I wanted to find inner peace. So it was really working and it was happening.
Talk about the other techniques that you said that you use.
Right. So this one started to expand my awareness. So I started to become aware of how I felt every day. So I was aware of the emotions that I was feeling, because when I started, I wasn't. But then underneath every emotion is a set of physical sensations. And I started to become aware of those. So, we use the words, I'm sad, frustrated, or angry, but underneath each of those words, we're feeling something, right? We're probably holding ourselves tight somewhere. That's the tension that I became aware of. And when I got to this level of awareness, I realized I didn't need EFT anymore. I could have used it. I could have tapped about maybe this frustration in my solar plexus, or my frustration that I'm holding in my stomach or my chest. That would work. But I wanted to actually focus on the feelings themselves. And I found that I could do that. It wasn't easy. It sounds like it should be easy. Oh, just feel your feelings.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that easy because I had suppressed them for decades. Yeah. So I would actually do it standing at the kitchen sink. I would be doing the dishes and I would recognize, oh, I'm feeling emotional. So I'd notice what thought it was that I was using there to feel those emotions. And I would feel the sensations in my body. Yeah. Now I wanted to focus on them. Focusing on them is not as easy as it sounds. And I realized I actually had to hold myself like a statue. I had to hold myself absolutely still, because if I moved or I took a breath, I couldn't find it anymore. It had disappeared. Yeah. So I held myself as a statue. I stopped breathing. I didn't take a deep breath. I just held my breath wherever it was when I could feel that tension. And then I would focus on the tension and I would actually talk to it. It's like, hello, tension. I can feel this frustration right there in my stomach, in this tension in my stomach. I want to just feel you. I don't want to change you. I just want to allow you to be. Yeah. And then I would find there would be a shift. I'd have to take a deep breath and there'd be a shift. And then I would think that thought again, feel it again, do the same thing over and over again until that thought no longer has any emotion behind it. Okay. That's doing the same thing at a deeper level that EFT was, right? Because EFT, we do this, we say the same words over and over again until the energy has dissipated. Yeah.
Okay. So for this one, you're holding your breath, but mentally thinking of the emotion?
Mentally focusing on the tension, on the physical sensations. I mean, think about if you're feeling angry. A lot of us have a tense jaw when we're feeling angry, right? So I would focus on that tension in the jaw, right, with my awareness. It's not easy to understand. I couldn't have done this when I started because I wasn't aware of that tension in the jaw. Yes. Yeah. So I had to get to a place where I could work with it. And empaths will often have this deeper level of awareness where they can feel these things in the body. Yeah. So they can maybe start more at this deeper level. And then, I do it over and over again. And how many times? I don't know, 5 to 10 maybe. Okay. It takes some patience and some dedication, But I'd
Yeah.
already got to the place where I knew this was working, and I knew how good it felt to let go of old stuck tension, because there's a
Yeah.
relief in it. And it's just stuck energy that wants to leave the body. All we have to do is find a way to allow it to leave. So this was a way that worked for me.
Oh, I love it. It sounds like, tell me if I'm wrong, you found the EFT. It allowed you to become so in tune with your own body. You found a different way to release, like a different technique to release that.
Right, at a deeper level. Before, I had used EFT every night to work through my childhood. Well, now I kind of shifted, and I would lie on the sofa every night. And I'd kind of gone through my childhood stuff. So I worked more on collective traumas, which we all have our own individual experience of, right? So I would think about 9/11 or Fukushima or one of the big global traumas that we've undergone.
Mm.
And I would feel all those sensations in my body because I was now aware of them. And I would do the same thing, hold my awareness on it, allow it to shift, do it again and again and again until it let go. And this whole process is still opening up. It's still uncovering more layers, right? I mean, things certainly changed. On the outside, things absolutely changed. But I'm just becoming aware of tension at a deeper and deeper level each time. So at one point during this part, I found I could actually keep my awareness inside my body, which sounds really weird. I couldn't understand it at the time. I really didn't know exactly what I was doing. But the only way I can explain it now is, imagine if you have a toothache or a stomachache. Okay. You can focus, you know where that pain is coming from, right? You can feel where it's coming from. But once the pain has gone, once the ache has disappeared, you can't focus again inside where that was coming from. You can't pinpoint it. And I found that I could keep my focus still inside my body. So that was kind of weird, but I just kept playing. I just knew it was the next part of the journey. So I kind of played around. Okay, can I do that again? And so I'd put my awareness inside and I would move it around. And I realized that I could actually feel tension or no tension. So I would find a place that felt like it had tension. I would hold my awareness on it. So I'm just feeling at this point. I'm not thinking, I'm not in my mind. I'm actually feeling tension in the body. And then I would do the same thing. I'd hold my attention on it until it let go. And then I'd do it again and again and again. So I'm doing exactly the same thing that I was with the physical sensations and with the EFT, but now at an even deeper level. And so I'm working with tension inside the physical body. And I would just play around. I'd find somewhere inside the place that called my attention, right? It was the place that felt like it was most tense. And over the months, I was actually able to put my awareness inside my head, which was a whole different thing. It took many months to be able to do that. And when I first put my awareness inside my head, I could not believe how much tension was inside my head that I had no idea was there. Absolutely no idea. I'd had an orthodontist many years ago say to me, because I used to have migraines, he said, "You must have so much tension in your jaw." And I said, "No, I don't think so." Which is funny looking back now, because there was so much. The forces pulling my bones out of alignment were just incredible. So over time, I've just focused on it, let it go. And to begin with, I could only focus on the pain in my left cheek for like a second or two at a time because it was so painful. So I just spent, more and more time over the days and weeks and months and let that tension go, which is why, like last year, it was so nice to get those x-rays taken from my orthodontist compared to 2013 and actually see the changes, right? Because I could sometimes feel my bones in my skull relax into a slightly different position. So I knew things were releasing. And I recognized over time that it's actually the connective tissue that was releasing, because I could actually feel it and hear it release. And it felt and sounded like old fabric ripping, which again was kind of weird. But the x-rays show that the bones have shifted, right? My eye sockets, and I didn't even know those bones moved, but my eye sockets have aligned, and my jaw, which was way off to the side, is now more centered. And my neck, my scoliosis is straightening out. My body is untalking. It's becoming more aligned. And that's all through the release of dis-ease or tension inside the body at a deeper and deeper level.
Yes. And for those that are listening, please go to Anne's website at annehince.com, because you can see the pictures, those images that she has on her website. And you can see that. You can see the change in your bone structure. And I'm so happy that you're bringing this kind of awareness.
This provides a permanent shift, right? It's actually working at such a different level. And I believe it's the level of the connective tissue. I think that's where our soul resides. So when we let go of our history, when we allow ourselves to feel whatever it is we're feeling, allow that shift to happen, it's releasing at the physical level. I believe it's releasing at a physical level, even when we're just working on a memory. Right? It's still releasing at this deep level, and it's a permanent shift, right? And the release I'm doing right now, I'm working in my, I'm still in mostly my left cheek, but I'm working in the cheekbones and in the palate and in the tooth roots. And as I release tension right there in my left cheek, I feel my shoulder releasing. Wow. Because it's so connected, and it's all connected. And actually, I believe the originality of where this tension comes from is actually the facial expressions that we hold back when we don't think we can express whatever it is we're feeling in childhood. And we hold our face in a particular way. We hold tension in our face. And that connective tissue is connected throughout our body. So it's actually adding tension to our body in a particular place. So when I was doing that in childhood, at some point, it was actually pulling up my shoulder. Wow. And so that's what I'm releasing now.
That's amazing. So how are you now? Like, where do you stand? How are you feeling? How are you? How are you, Anne?
I'm great. I'm loving life. There is so much more depth to life where I am now than where I was 15 years ago, because, the phrase as within, so without is absolutely true. So the more I know myself at a deeper level, the more I see outside on a deeper level, right? And the more present I am, right? I'm not living in the past like I was. I'm not fearful of the future like I was. I'm much more stable in the presence. And even the word balanced, right? The balanced and aligned, my physical structure is more balanced and aligned. So I am more balanced and aligned. And because I am, I attract into my future what is also more balanced and aligned.
Oh, beautiful. I love that.
Now, keep in mind that, the more we do this, the deeper we go, the more those deeply held tensions and traumas actually surface, right? So we have a lot of things showing up now that have been hidden, right? We see a lot of things opening up that have been hidden. So in my mind, what we do with that is we feel the feelings that we feel around everything that's coming up, all the divisions, the war, all of those things that are surfacing now. Our job, I believe, is to feel those feelings and allow them, right? Allow ourselves to feel afraid, allow ourselves to relive the programming that we've experienced in childhood, right? We all lived with stories of World War II and World War I and everything else. If we can feel those feelings and let them go out of our body, then we don't need to experience it again in the future. Right? This is our chance now to stop that recurring again in our future.
Life is hard enough, and we've just left a pandemic. So finding these different techniques that you can do for yourself when you're home in a safe space, right? Or even at work.
Right. But one of the things I really realized early on with EFT is actually the memories, the trauma that we hold inside of us, it doesn't go anywhere. It stays inside of us unless we accept it and let it go. So much of society is about suppressing it, right? Which is what I always did. And even the positive thinking, right? Even when we try and think positively, we're not accepting what we're actually thinking. So when we accept what we're actually thinking and feeling, and maybe tap it out and let it go, let the emotion flow out of us, or the energy flow out of us, we naturally find the positive, right? The positive underneath the negative. That's something else I found, right? Because I can now sense inside my body,
Yes.
When I focus on the tension and let it go, I realized that there's light underneath, and it was dark. What was there, that tension was darkness, and underneath is the light. So that's all we need to do, is let that tension go, and the positive is already there underneath it.
For those that practice manifestation, law of attraction, our vision board, if you haven't healed certain things, you can't project it into the future with a positive. So is that what I hear you say?
If you're putting a cruise, right? If you're putting a cruise on your vision board, but inside when you're thinking about it, you're saying, oh, that's not going to happen. I can't afford that. Any negative thing that you're saying in the back of your mind, then you're not emitting a pure signal. You're only emitting a pure signal if you're thinking of that cruise and it feels really good to you and you know it's going to happen, right? If it's a pure signal, then that's what you want. But if there's any negative there, that's what you can find, and you can tap that out.
For those that are listening and they want to take a moment to tap something out, can you give us like maybe a 1 minute, 2 minute tapping exercise?
Sure. So some people will be listening to this, right? So it will be, I'll try and explain it through words as well. So let's do fear of public speaking. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we start on our karate chop point, which is the side of our hand between our pinky and our wrist, where we would hit if we were going to hit a karate chop. And we're tapping on there fairly firmly, not so gently that it's, you don't feel like anything. You're actually trying to create an energetic interrupt into the nervous system of the body. So this is where we say our setup phrase. So you'd say something like, even though I'm afraid of public speaking, that's my truth in this moment, and it's okay that I feel that way. And you say that 3 times. So even though I'm afraid of public speaking, that's my truth in this moment, and it's okay that I feel that way. Even though I'm really afraid of speaking in public, that's my truth in this moment, and it's okay that I feel that way. And then we go to the first point. So the first point is the crown point on the top of the head. I'm afraid of public speaking. You keep tapping there as you say those words. I'm afraid of public speaking. Then the next point is the beginning of the eyebrows. I'm a little bit lower, right on the beginning of the eyebrow. You're touching your eyebrows. Yeah.
Let me take my glasses off.
Okay. I'm afraid of public speaking. The next point is the bone on the edge of the eye. I'm afraid of public speaking. The next point is the bone under the eye. I'm afraid of public speaking. The next point is the upper lip underneath the nose. I'm afraid of public speaking. A little bit firmer. The next point is on the chin. I'm afraid of public speaking. The next point is the collarbone point, just under the beginning of the collarbone. I'm afraid of public speaking. And then the last point is about 4 inches under the armpit, where the bra strap goes across, if you have one. I'm afraid of public speaking. And then you take a deep breath. You let it out. And then you think again about how afraid of public speaking you are. So you can give yourself on the scale of 0 through 10, how afraid are you of public speaking? Maybe it starts as an 8, and maybe it goes down to a 7 or a 6 or something. Then you do it again.
Okay.
You start again. You do another round, and you keep going until it's down to a 0, 1, or 2. Or another fear might come up, or a memory of a time that you were teased for saying something in public. Right. And then you would move to that, and you would work through that. And it's just like this layer by layer process as the subconscious mind opens up. So those memories will open up, or more details about an event will open up. And you just keep going until that emotion has disappeared.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Use one finger, or can you use several fingers when you're tapping?
Yes, you can use one, or you can use several. It tends to be, for me, I think, the different place wherever it is I'm working. Mostly I use more than one. The beginning of the eyebrow, I tend to use just one, but I use both hands. You can just use one side of the body or the other side, or both. Doesn't really matter, because it's all connected.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the great things about EFT is it actually provides feedback, right? It lets you know, your body lets you know if you're releasing energy. So a lot of people yawn. That's probably the most often thing that happens. Some people will burp. Some people will get really, really tired. And some people, that one just went out of my mind. The voice will change, right? As you're saying something, you might start out really, really angry. But as you say it over and over again, the tension leaves the voice and it just becomes words. Yeah, so it's really nice to get that feedback from the body so that you know something's happening.
Thank you so much. And I hope everyone uses it that's listening.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, do you have any books that you recommend?
Other than my book, I have my book.
Yes, of course.
That's called A Pathway to Insight, and it talks about all these different steps.
Yeah.
But another book that really helped me along the way was the book called Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, because he really explains very well how we box ourselves in.
Okay.
And I found I did that. I noticed when other people do that. And, even some of the spiritual teachers, I think, kind of move us in that direction, right? I know Abraham Hicks sometimes says, take the path of least resistance. Yeah. But I recognize my path of least resistance just kept me safe, right? I wouldn't do a lot of things because it didn't feel safe to do them. So I just narrowed my box. And I realized that if I wanted, whatever it was I came across, if I had resistance, in order to expand my awareness, I had to accept that resistance, right? I had to notice that resistance and let it go. And then it no longer affected me. And that actually expanded my box.
Wow. So I did want to highlight your book. That was next. So what made you write the book? I'm always curious on how that process is. What was that moment that you said, you know what, I need to put all of this in writing? And did you do it yourself, or did you hire someone to help you throughout the whole process?
Yeah, I did it myself, kind of like I did this journey myself. I tend to do that. I like to know where I'm going and how I'm getting there. I decided to write the book after I became aware on the inside, and I recognized that it's really the opening of the inner eye. And there's a lot of talk in, books about what that means. And I realized that what I think it means is different from what a lot of other people think it means. Yeah. And there were so many intricacies and weird things that happened along the way, and I didn't want to forget them. I wanted to explain them in case someone else wanted to go down this path, so that they would know things that could happen. Because, when the body releases tension that's been stored for a long, long time, and it can be a little strange.
Yeah, I know. So what's next for you? What's your next project? What do you want to do that's forthcoming?
I want to share this story around the world. I would love to go and talk around the world and share this story with more and more people, because I've not heard of other people talking about this and how incredibly powerful we are. I mean, just think, if we can change our own bone structure, what else we can do. So I want to encourage other people to take up this work and just show people what can be done. But, that's on the outside, right? On the inside, I'm still working. I'm letting go of this stored tension. And I believe as I do it more and more, I can become more and more in tune with spirit.
Yes.
So, that's my goal.
Awesome. What is the best way for our listeners to, reach out to you if they want to work with you, if they want you to speak at an engagement? What's the best way for them to do that?
Probably through my website, Hince.com. Okay. Yeah, but I also have a public Facebook page that I love writing things on, explaining things on, and I answer any questions on there or respond to any comments on there. So you're welcome to look at that.
Yes, awesome. Is there anything else you would like to add or discuss that perhaps we didn't touch on today?
Well, I will mention my YouTube channel, because I do have a demonstration on there of EFT and a demonstration on feeling your feelings. And I talk about some things in more detail. So that might help someone who is interested.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you again for trying to heal the world. Everyone is suffering from something and trying to find some way of healing. So thank you for doing your part for the community. And I wish you nothing but the best. I'm going to continue to follow your journey. I'll subscribe to your YouTube channel. I'm really interested of what Anne is going to do in the future. So I'm super excited.
Thank you.
Are you going to travel or have traveled anywhere internationally just yet, or?
I hope so. Not just yet. And once things open up, I hope I will. Yes, we'll see. I'm very much letting things happen, right?
Yeah.
Right on, as this whole journey has been letting things happen rather than forcing things to happen. So whatever happens next, I'm open to that.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for today. I learned a lot from you and your story, and I'm so happy that you have healed and now are healing others.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me share my story and for having the platform to do that.
Thank you for listening. Please visit the website at www.leveluptribes.com. And please subscribe to the podcast and share with your family and friends. Be sure to tune in to our next episode. Catch you all next time, my beloved tribes.